Spreading the news.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
New York, I love you. I love New York.
What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And on today's show, we're going to dive into the NBA draft. I'm going to do a little mock draft lottery edition, go through all that. Then later, drop my interview with former Texas Longhorn NBA draft hopeful Matt Coleman. We'll have that. We had a nice little chat with the hopefully soon to be drafted Matt Coleman. Talk a little bit about his process, his time at Texas, and all that stuff. So let's get right into it. It is draft season. It's one of my favorite parts of basketball is the draft. Really got heavy into it last year, kind of what got the show going. So going to do a little mock draft, and then guys, stay tuned because this Thursday, going to have our first live mock draft. Follow me on Off the Ball Pod, and you'll figure out who will be on the show. I think we're going to have 4 or 5 people on the show, including myself. I'll moderate it, and I will have some of the best draft minds in the Twitter world, period. These are some of the best minds that are out here. So we'll have them on. I'll keep you updated as far as who will be on. We'll do one a week until the draft. So I'm excited about this. Draft is coming up real soon. July 7th is the withdrawal deadline. We got, I know Aaron Wiggins. We didn't know if he was coming back. He was coming in. What was his deal? But as of now, from what I'm reading, he's staying in. I'm going to assume he got a confirmation that he will get drafted, so he will stay in the draft. I believe some other names that withdrew. I believe who else? I got my little list here. We got some other man, I just had it. See, messing up already. Where is he? Oh, I'll get back to it. The name slipped, but we got the withdrawal coming up in a few days. 2 more days where guys could figure out if they want to stay in or stay out. Loaded class, obviously, we all know that for sure. So let's get right into it. Let's get to this draft, and like you said, interview with Matt Coleman will come up right after this show. So I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy that. Draft profiles. If you haven't already, I did my first NBA draft profile show with Vrens Bleinberg, the Belgium 6'10" ball handling monster. Hopefully he's got a few interviews. I know he had one with OKC and a few other teams. I'm sure he's going to have talks with. So he's someone that could be our first draftee on the show that we have. We had a few guys last year. We thought we'd get drafted. This year, Brent is I think he's definitely getting drafted. It just makes too much sense. He has all the tools you want, even if he's a drafting stash or, second round pick. He's a draftable player. I have him in my top 30. To me, the talent alone is worthy of being selected. A lot of upside with that young kid. So we'll see. But let's get into it. We're gonna do the mock lottery draft. Let's go. With the first pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham. I mean, it's simple. Like, if you listen to the last show I did with Bryce from Motor City Hoops, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You're going to take him. It may not be the most perfect fit, but you make it work. I know people worried about Killian Hayes and all that. Nah, it's going to work. You have 2 ball handlers like that. Like I said, even if Killian's the primary ball handler, what Cade can do with the ball in his hand, off the ball, on the ball, It doesn't matter. 6'8", 6'8", 6'9", 7-foot wingspan. I think I talked about this with Bryce too, with what I love, obviously what he can do on the court. I think he's going to be a great shooter. I think he can do a lot, get to the basket. People worry about his athleticism. He's a good enough athlete, not that he's going to be Luka, but we see with Luka, I'm not tripping about that. But what he did at Oklahoma State, I mean, he didn't have to go to Oklahoma State. I mean, they were almost going to be tournament banned. That was going to happen, but his poise, his leadership, he's able to take his team to the tournament and do some things, is what I loved about him, his leadership, his unselfishness. Now he's going to be a little bit selfish when he gets to the league. He's going to be a little bit, because I think there is another level where he could be a 20 to 25 point player while averaging 8-9 assists. I think that is his ceiling. I think the ceiling is just through the roof, and I just can't see why they don't take him. I think it's 99.9% locked in that he is the number one pick, and just don't overthink it. Sometimes you just don't overthink things, and to me, that is the pick. So with the first pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons will select Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. All right. Houston Rockets are on the clock. Obviously, a tumultuous season, didn't go the way they wanted to. Projected to get the number one pick. Didn't get it, but they got number two. And if there's a year where you're not tripping over getting the second pick, it's this year. Obviously, they would love to have Cade, but getting number two, you simply can't go wrong. And I think that there's a few ways you can go if you're the Houston Rockets. But to me, I think the pick is going to be Jalen Green out of the G League Ignite. Jalen Green is a blur, fast with the ball. He's going to be an instant bucket getter. And you align him with Kevin Porter Jr., this team could be scary. The rebuild can be quicker than we think. Christian Wood, who was probably on his way to winning Most Improved, he was on his way to be the most improved player, if he didn't get hurt. I think that was really the case with him. He was going to. So I think they pair him up. I mean, I've heard people say maybe Jalen Suggs because he's more of a point guard, what they probably would need, but it's hard. I think Jalen Green and Kevin Porter. I mean, you're gonna get some. You're gonna have your mistakes early on, but that could be a dynamic backcourt. I mean, that could be something real special if they both hit, because we've seen Kevin Porter has all the talent in the world. I believe he had a 50-point game this year. Like, he has so much talent. But obviously, he went through the stuff he went through with Cleveland, but man, talent is there. I think they take Jalen Green, and they're happy with that. So I'm going to go Jalen Green, G League Ignite. All right. So that's the pick. Cleveland on the clock. Evan Mobley, USC. That's the pick. I don't think they're going to let worry about, Larry Nance or anyone else dictate, I think you take him. Kevin, I know it's Kevin Love still on. I'm pretty sure they're going to figure out a way to try to get Kevin Love out of there, but I think they'll go with Evan Mobley, mobile big, gives you that, that two-way versatility, on both sides of the ball. I know he's slender right now, but I think he can get stronger, and he could shoot the ball. He could do everything. I mean, he's I wouldn't be surprised if Houston, I know people worry about the Christian Wood and him together. That could work, but I think they would go with that dynamic backcourt potentially. But I think taking Mobley here is, for Cleveland, would be a home run. He gives me some little Chris Bosh vibes with his game. I mean, he's a very, very polished guy, polished big man. He's not even really a big man. I know people, he's like a perimeter player, essentially. I mean, he's 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot. He could play the wing. I mean, so to me, they could do a lot of things with Evan Mobley in Cleveland. Obviously, they have Sexton, Garland. They took a Coral last year out of Auburn. Larry Nance, obviously. They have keep thinking of the guy they got from Brooklyn. Jared Allen. They got Jared Allen. I wouldn't let Jared Allen stop me from getting Evan Mobley or Dick. So I think Evan Mobley would be the pick here. I think this would be you could get a potential all-star player here, and that's exactly what Cleveland needs. They need to get just as much talent as possible. And whether they keep Sexton or not, that's another thing. But you want to try to get as much talent as possible, and I think adding Evan Mobley is the pick here. So I think Evan Mobley out of USC going to the Cleveland. I was about to say Cleveland Indians. They're not even the Indians. They're not going to be the Indians no more. The Cleveland Cavaliers. They need someone since LeBron left, so they got to get some star power there. All right. With the fourth pick, the Toronto Raptors are on the clock. Obviously, things didn't go the way they wanted to this year. Start off, all right, and then they essentially just threw in the towel towards the end of the year. I think they lost 9 out of 10 to end the year. Kyle Lowry is a free agent. Obviously they signed Fred VanVleet to I think 85 mil last offseason. They still have Pascal Siakam. They still got some talent, but it just seems like they might be going through that. You hear Pascal's in trade rumors. We heard about the trade rumor for him going to Golden State for Wiseman. So that shows you there that they're obviously in rebuild mode. They have Anunoby, Boucher, they got some pieces. They got some nice pieces. And that I think they're the one team that's in this top 5 that could turn it around quicker than than most people probably think. I think they could turn it around quick. But with the fourth pick, obviously you got Fred, all right, and most likely Kyle's not going to come back. So we'll just go with the assumption Kyle doesn't come back. It's got to be Jalen Green. I mean, Jalen Suggs. Sorry about that. Jalen Suggs has to be the pick out of Gonzaga. I think you pair him up with Fred. Fred doesn't need the ball. Put Suggs right here, who could be, showed a lot of flashes as a playmaker this year, scorer. Hit the big shot. In the NCAA tournament, shows that moxie, has that. I know people soured on him after the national championship. I think that's kind of ludicrous. You don't do that after just one game. He had a tremendous season. Definitely, maybe going into the year, people thought maybe top 10, definitely lottery. I mean, he solidified himself as a top 4 pick after this tremendous year. I think a lot of people worry about, well, was he a product of the system? They had a lot of talent. They got a lot of potential pros, Kispert, Ayayi, a lot, Drew Timme, who's coming, who went back, a product of the system. But this young man absolutely balled this year for Gonzaga. Shows a lot of playmaking ability, scoring ability. Obviously there's areas where he needs to improve, but to me, Toronto, I don't think they hesitate here. Pick is in. Jalen Suggs is the pick. All right, Jalen Suggs is in, and let's go with the Orlando Magic. They're on the clock. The Orlando Magic, I talk about them a lot because they're one of those teams that were stuck in purgatory. 8 seed every year, maybe win a game. Right? They beat Milwaukee last year in the bubble. They'll maybe win a game in the playoffs, but they were always in the middle of the pack, and they just couldn't figure out, what to do. Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon, Markelle Fultz, all these guys, Mo Bamba, they wound up trading for trading Aaron Gordon to get RJ Hampton. Cole Anthony. They have some young pieces, but it's just like, who's going to pop? right? That's been a thing. So with this 5th pick, and they also have the 8th pick from Chicago, some things, they could do some things here. Obviously, I'm a big Jonathan Kuminga guy. I love Jonathan Kuminga. He almost went to Duke. I didn't sour after he didn't go to Duke, but he almost went to Duke. So I've been on the Kuminga radar for a little bit, been watching him ever since Duke was in the picture, or possibly picking him up this year. But I think it's going to be Scotty Barnes, Florida State, the pick. I just think all the stuff he's done at the combine, his measurables, the interviews, he's a little bit more polished than Kuminga. Kuminga had an up and down G League year. He's still very young. Don't get me wrong, still a very, very young Kuminga, but I just feel like if you're Orlando, you have Isaac, who's coming off the ACL. You already Mo Bamba. Do you want to take another project? Kuminga is a project now. He's probably the ultimate boomer bust pick in this draft. To me, he is the number 1 boomer bust. It's either he going to be a superstar or he's going to, he might not be in the league. I think that's highest of ceilings, lowest of floors. That to me, the low floor is potentially not being in the league, because there are things that are not worrisome, but there's things that he needs a lot of work. His consistency as a shooter. There's just things he needs to work on. But, he's 18. So, of course, he's got to work on most 18-year-olds have to work on the shooting. But for him, definitely needs to work on his consistency as a shooter, as a scorer. And because, like you said, he's built like a pro. He's built like a pro. I mean, what is he? 6'8", 215, 210, around there. Like he has the body, but he's still he's super raw. Super raw. Like I said, a lot of inconsistencies this year in the G League. But still, I think it would be Scotty Barnes, just a bit more polished. Another one who needs to work on his offensive game, but his playmaking ability, is what sets him apart. I mean, you might be getting yourself a 6'9" point forward, with Scotty, and with the defense. He's already he's going to come into the league ready to play defense. What has he got? 7-foot wingspan. His measurables, along with him just being more developed than Jonathan Kuminga, is why I think Scotty Barnes will be the pick here for the Orlando Magic. So going to go with Scotty Barnes, Florida State. OKC on the clock. OKC feels like they have all the damn picks in the next few drafts. To me, I think this is where Kuminga falls. This is where he's going to go. I think Jonathan Kuminga here, they have some guys, SGA, they got some guys that talented. A lot of a bunch of picks, man. A bunch of picks. So I think you add Kuminga to this roster, and you got some. They drafted Pokusevski last year, so they got some guys. They got some guys in this draft in last year's draft that are good. And Pokusevski and Kuminga, I mean, it's super raw. It's definitely really, really raw as far as a team, but I feel like, Kuminga here, there's no rush. This team is a rebuilding process. Obviously, they have 17 first-round picks in the next I forgot how many drafts, but they have a lot. They have a lot of picks. So for me, I think this would be good spot for him, and he can develop with that young core and do some things. Dort, Pokusevski, SGA, they got some things going on over there. So I definitely think that will be the pick. Jonathan Kuminga out of the G League Ignite. So Kuminga is gone. We got the Golden State Warriors. Their pick is from the Minnesota Timberwolves, who decided to win late in the season, no longer have their pick. So obviously, I don't think they're going to keep this pick. But since we're just going to do this simply, off, what the order is right now. Golden State Warriors. They can go a few ways. Obviously, this team isn't, they missed the playoffs last year. Steph had Draymond was a all NBA defender again. So they can go a few ways. There's a few ways they can go. Obviously, John, they would have Wiseman. They need depth. But also, this guy's, to me, I think this would be a good pick. Another ball handler. I'm going to go with Josh Giddey from Australia. My Australian mate. Going to go Josh Giddey. He's climbed up the boards a lot. He's a great ball handler, great facilitator. Add him to Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. This would be a home run for Jonathan Wiseman. They could do a lot of pick and roll stuff for Steph. We all know Steph doesn't need the ball in his hand. You add Josh Giddey to this, man, that could be something. That could be something really fun, to add Josh Giddey to this. So I'm going to go Josh Giddey out of Australia. I may have him a little higher than most people, but I just love his game. I love his ability to just facilitate. I think he has special vision. I think, his shooting's got better. I think he can add some scoring, get to the basket, use both hands. I like Josh Giddey a lot. Add him to the Warriors if they keep this pick. Man, man. It could be real dangerous for them if they keep the pick. Like I said, don't know if they will, probably won't, but gonna go with that. All right, Orlando back on the clock. Obviously, Orlando, we had him taking Scotty Barnes with the first pick. At this point, you're just taking talent. You're taking talent, and I'm gonna go with Moses Moody out of Arkansas. I know people soured on Moses during the tournament, but he's one of my favorite players in this class. I just love his game, love his versatility, love his scoring ability, and I think you pair him up with we pair him up with Cole and RJ. That backcourt that could be a nice little backcourt. So I'm gonna go Moses Moody out of Arkansas with the pick. And if you're Orlando and you come out of this draft with Scotty Barnes and Moses Moody, I think that's a good draft for Orlando. So Moses Moody with the pick out of Arkansas. Sacramento Kings are on the clock. Man, I could do a whole show about the about the Sacramento Kings. Another year of no playoffs for Sacramento. Another tough season for Sacramento Kings. You can go a few ways here. I'm gonna go Buaparan Sungan from Turkey. Now, he's one of the players that's kind of very rangy. I have him 10. Some guys have him 30. I saw someone today who had him in the 40s. I didn't think it would be that rangy, but I saw a few. But for me, I know people are going to be, well, his style of play doesn't essentially fit today's NBA. I get it, but there's something about him, man, that I just so intrigued about with Sengun. His footwork is absolutely tremendous. What he can do just off pick and rolls and all that, pick and pop. I think he can develop something in the mid range. I think he can develop that. I know he's not a super athlete, maybe defensively not great, but he's really skilled around the basket. He does a lot of things. I think he won even MVP the Turkish league. So I think you add him to Sacramento. I don't know what they're going to do with Bagley. I know they have a lot of things. I didn't want to give him another guard because they already had Hallie and De'Aaron. Because I was thinking maybe Book Night, but I'm going to go with Sengun. I feel comfortable with that. I think he's someone who's very skilled in the post, and and can do some good things. So I'm gonna go Sengun from Sacramento. New Orleans with the 10th pick. Obviously, New Orleans, they have Zion, Brandon Ingram. They have talent, but it hasn't gelled yet. Right now, Lonzo is expected to be, he's a restricted. Don't know if they'll keep him or not. They just fired Stan Van Gundy. They have, obviously they have the talent. They got Zion. They have building pieces to this team. But they still need some stuff. They still need a lot. So, with the 10th pick in the draft, this is tough. This is tough. But I'm going to give them Davion Mitchell out of Baylor. I'm going to assume Lonzo leaves. And this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Lonzo leaves and you add a Davion Mitchell and your defense is going to be so much better. I don't know what his offensive upside will be. I think he could do some stuff. He got better as a shooter, especially this season. But, I think trying to figure out, okay, is his previous years, even at Auburn and then at Baylor, where he didn't shoot the ball great, is he more of that or is he more of what we saw this year, which was a pretty good shooter, or at least a very, improved shooter. So is that something we're going to continue to see? Show some stuff as a ball up, obviously needs to do some work as far as getting to the basket, finishing, because he is just 6'2", but he's a pit bull on defense, man. I think you get someone who adds instant impact on the defensive end, which they do need help defensively. So I think, I know they took Kyra Lewis last year out of Alabama. Say that 5 times fast. Alabama, who I really liked. I had him as a top 5 prospect, and I was really hoping the New York Knicks would select him, figuring their needs at the point guard position. But you paired them up, no, it's not a big backcourt, but you got Zion, Brandon Ingram, Nikhil Walker-Alexander. You got some, you got some guys that can help out. So I would go with that selection of Davion Mitchell. And he's another guy that I've seen guys, shout out to my guy Corey Tuluba, have him high as 6. I've seen people have him, in the late 20s, so after that top 5, 6, all right, because I feel like the top 6 is going to go the way I think it's going to go in any order. But if those top 6 guys are, to me, the top 6 guys, just a matter of whether one guy is going to go this way. But that's the top 6. After 7 through whatever is a crapshoot. Someone's 7th guy, my 7th guy, could be someone's 27th guy, and it's not similar to last year in a way where after that top 3 is like, whoa, after 4 is a crapshoot, as far as where guys could go, you don't know. Like we saw Patrick Williams go 4th last year, where I think I had him in the teens. So we're going to get the same thing this year. All right. So Davion Mitchell, 10th to the New Orleans Pelicans. 11th pick, Charlotte Hornets on the clock. Obviously, a very, very good year for Charlotte. They made the play in. Obviously, they lost to Indiana, but LaMelo was tremendous. He did get hurt, but still won Rookie of the Year. Tremendous season from him. Gives them a bright future. PJ Washington, Malik Monk. They got some guys. Scary Terry. They got some Bridges. I mean, they got some good young pieces for this team. Maybe, and so I think that people are tired of the Zeller Zeller taking over as center. So I don't know if they'll find an immediate impact player at the center position. And this guy, for me, you know, he's not in that range where I would pick him, but this is just my feeling of what I think it would happen. I think it's going to be Kai Jones here. I think they take Kai Jones out of Texas. Super athlete, can do a lot of stuff, could be that potential, big of the future. So I think they pair him up there, and you continue. Him and Melo can do a bunch of pick and rolls and do some pretty crazy stuff. So I'm going to go Kai Jones here, 6'11", 220 pounds. I mean, he could be help continue this rebuild. I mean, it's not even rebuild. I mean, they're a couple pieces away from doing some serious things, and I think people are going to want to play with LaMelo. So you add a Kai Jones to that with a lot of upside. That's a lot of these Texas big men, and you got 3 Texas big men in this draft with some serious upside. Especially Kai Jones and Greg Jones. I know Greg Brown didn't have the greatest combine, but definitely some upside. Jericho Sims had a tremendous combine, so definitely doing some stuff there. So I'm gonna go with Kai Jones going to Charlotte. San Antonio is on the clock. The San Antonio Spurs, once again in the lottery. Not something you thought you would see. They can go a few ways here. To me, I've always felt like this play. I don't know you guys, but I've been feeling Keon Johnson is a Spur. I don't know why. I've been saying he's a Spurs guy for some reason. And I'm going to go Keon Johnson out of Tennessee, going to San Antonio, add him to the backcourt. DeRozan, we don't know if he's coming. He's going to be a free agent. So you add a super athletic player like him, like Keon Johnson. Needs to obviously, a lot of things he needs to work on shooting wise, but defensively he can bring it, and like I said, a great athlete, can help develop. So going to go with Keon Johnson out of Tennessee going. I think he had the highest vert, a 48-inch vert, in the combine. So super freak athlete. If I think that's a good system to go in to teach him how to, refine his game. I think I don't know. It just feels like he's a Spur. I don't know why. I've been picturing him in the Spur jersey. This makes sense. So gonna go with him. All right. Indiana Pacers are on the clock. They have the 13th pick. It feels like this team just goes through injuries. They just fired their coach, Nate Bjorken. They have talent, man. This team has a lot of talent. Brogdon, Sabonis, Miles Turner, but injuries have hurt this team so much, and it hurt them this year. So, but they're still in this situation where they could kind of take a best player available here, and they can go a few different ways here. But I'm going to give them Duke. Obviously, Jalen Johnson, super talented, forward, could do some stuff, in the post and all that. Obviously, people are going to worry about, the stuff off the court, went to multiple high schools and all that. I think he was supposed to go to IMG, went there and then didn't even play a game for IMG. Then the same thing with Duke, went to Duke and then wound up leaving. He was banged up a little bit and then wound up leaving. But I think you add him there as a developmental piece, because his talent's top 10. I mean, he's a top 10 talent. I mean, even in the little time he played at Duke, me being a Duke fan, he shows some stuff. I saw him in high school. This kid could play, so he's gonna have to deal with all that other stuff. But other than that, I think he's going to be a good one. And so I think Indiana takes Jalen Johnson out of Duke University. And we conclude the end of the lottery with the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, like we mentioned before, we're assuming I'm pretty sure they're going to trade these picks, but we're doing as if there are no trades. Gave them with the first pick. I gave him Josh Giddey with the second pick. Kind of can do a lot of things. Just add depth to that bench. They need some scoring punch. You don't know what you're gonna get from Clay coming back. They still need some punch, some scoring punch off the bench. And to me, Book Knight out of UConn is the pick here. You know, this guy's. I saw someone just tweet like, you don't have to even do a deep analysis on James Book Knight. He's a bucket. It's simple. He's gonna get you a bucket. You know, he's another guy. I don't know what he's gonna. You know, I know defensively he's not great. You know, we don't know about his playmaking ability, but I do know he can get a bucket. And for the Warriors, you need that coming off the bench and all that. Get him. You know, obviously Steph can do Steph things, and then you have Clay, but you just want that assurance. And Clay is not ready, so you have Book Knight can be a scoring punch, and you know, as a rook, can give you some solid minutes, you know, and just score the bucket. He can get to the hole, get to the basket. You know, he's athletic. Like I say, he could score. You know, he's a 3-level type of player. I think Book Knight, if you get him at 14, if Golden State comes out with Giddey and Book Knight, man, that's a hell of a draft. That's a hell of a draft. So I'm gonna conclude the first round, the lottery, you know, with James Book Knight going to the Golden State Warriors. So that concludes the first round mock. And like you said, I have the live mock draft Thursday night before I believe game 2 of the NBA finals. So that will start at 7. So we'll get you in draft mode and get right, you know, for before game 2 of the NBA finals. Like I said, check out Off the Ball Pod on Twitter and in Off the Ball Podcast on Instagram to follow, you know, who will be on the show, because I will have a star-studded class, you know, star-studded group for all these what I think I'm gonna probably do 3 or 4, definitely 3 before the draft starts. So, but this first one's gonna be a good one next week. Next week we're gonna do it on a Wednesday, and next week I already know who I have next week. You guys are gonna love it. So, I have the 2 live mock drafts. Like I said, last year I did 3 or 4. They just went terrific. So we're gonna do this again every year till whenever to the draft end. You know, so we're gonna have that going. But at the conclusion of this one, we're gonna, you know, get right into the Matt Coleman interview. I did the Matt Coleman interview a few days ago. He was just finished a workout, so glad, you know, he was able to chop it up with me for like 15-20 minutes. We talked about a little bit about the draft process for him. We talked a bit about his time at Texas. He's still a little upset of how it all ended, you know, in the tournament. You know, talked about some of, you know, his teammates who are also going through the process, and just a little bit about his upbringing in Virginia. So I hope you guys enjoy that. So that's going to follow right here. So make sure you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, make sure to follow me Off the Ball Pod and all that good stuff. Off the Ball, everything. Go follow my guys Off the Ball Network. Make sure to do all that stuff. Follow the guys. We got a lot of draft content coming out there. My guy Kenneth just put out a great article. You know, he's going to do a 7 series part where he's going to drop all, you know, each tier of his rankings, top 70. So check that out. I will be dropping my board this week. So stay tuned for that. So we got some great content coming for you. Make sure to check out all the guys at Off the Ball Network. Once again, check out all great sponsors. My bookie, use promo code Off the Ball, and we'll match up to $50 for your first deposit. So use that promo code Off the Ball. On that note, enjoy the interview. Matt Coleman, former Texas Longhorn standout. Take care, guys. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and we got another installment of the NBA Draft Profile Show. And on today's show, I got a special guest with me, former Texas Longhorn, Matt Coleman. What's going on, Matt?
What's good? What's up, my man?
Nothing much, brother. How you been? You know, I know you're busy. These times.
I've been well, man. Been traveling state to state. Having fun though.
How has his whole process been for you so far?
It's been a blessing. Just being able to be in this position, just to have opportunity to work out with different teams, to receive feedback, uh, and just to compete and have fun and see guys that I've grown up with, played against in college or in the AAU circuit. It's all been a blessing. It's all been fun.
That's good to hear. All right, so let's go back a little bit in time. Let's go up, growing up in VA. How's the basketball scene over there in VA? And just talk to me a little bit about all that, growing up in VA.
Virginia is full of dogs.
Yeah.
Some people probably sleep on Virginia, but not to know, like, home of some of the best athletes in the world ever.
AI, you got
I grew up,
AI.
you know what I'm saying? Grew up watching Allen Iverson. That's a first person that comes to mind, pound for pound. And just some of like the young talent, and Troy Williams, Dorian Finney-Smith with the Mavs.
Mm-hmm.
My mind just went blank. But just Virginia is just we just home of dogs, man. And I'm from Norfolk, Virginia, 757 area. And it's just, I don't know. It's definitely a basketball and a football, state.
So you mentioned AI before, and obviously, he's from the area and all that. How was he your guy growing up, AI? I know you're younger, I know you're a lot younger than me, and AI was prevalent in my, but was AI your guy growing up? Who was your guys growing up? Period.
Chris Paul always been my guy.
CP3. Finally getting to the championship.
Yeah, I'm happy for him for that. But
Yes.
He's always been my guy. I have a ton of respect for AI just because of his heart, his passion, and his just overall like mentality. Just he's gonna be him through everything. But so that's what I take from AI. But Chris Paul, that's the guy that I look up to.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like we mentioned before, I'm sure you're stoked that he finally getting that chance to finally, he's 4 wins away from winning his first chip. So I'm sure you're excited to see that. And like, it's crazy how a lot of people, if you don't win a championship, you're considered a loser, right? In today's world. And meanwhile, everywhere he's gone, he's made an impact. So to me, he's a winner. Like, yeah, he didn't need for me to solidify his legacy, his greatness. I didn't need him to win a championship, but if he does, it just puts him in that upper echelon, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas level of point guard, maybe even surpass them.
For sure.
It's been great seeing him. How have you enjoyed the playoffs? You've been watching a lot. I know you've been busy, but have you gotten to watch any?
Every chance I can get, I'm watching. I love watching basketball. I love watching it. So any chance I can get, I'm tuned in.
And any guys that you try to emulate your game after?
Just for like my standpoint of how I see my role being at the next level, I watch a lot of like Monte Morris and just how he impacts the game coming off the bench for the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
How his ability to, get in the paint, finish, take care of the ball, make open shots. So that's one guy that I pay close attention to, as well as campaign. Him being a lefty.
Yeah.
And then him just, he's been a big part of the Suns' success this year. Just the minutes he's produces when he gets his time, his finishing around the rim, his ability to shoot the 3 ball. So
he's improved so much too. Like there was a few years ago where his NBA career maybe looked a little bleak, and then got a leak for a little bit, and then refined his game, and now he's an essential piece of a championship team. He's starring in his role. Which has been great to see. Especially just a few years back, it didn't look great, but now he hooping. And that's what you want to see, which is dope. So, how did you go about picking Texas? All right, how was that process? I always like talking to guys about that process and picking the school, because that's a big thing, right? You're going to spend the next 2, 3, 4 years at this school. You got to make sure you pick the right school. So how did Texas come about? Was it always Texas, or were there other schools in it? Talk to me about that.
My dream school growing up was North Carolina. That's the school I wanted to go to. And then they did recruit me, but they never officially offered me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Texas came about. Coach Smart, he was at VCU when I was probably, growing up. He was my second offer. And then he got the job at Texas, and he recruited me, throughout my whole high school career, starting in the 8th grade. So that was like 5 years. His message stayed the same. I knew coming in right away, like they needed a point guard. They were coming off a, not too hot season, and I knew I could make a, immediate impact for, the program and for myself. So, and then Austin was just a beautiful city.
And I've heard a lot of good things about. I got a few buddies that live in Austin, so they tell me good things about it. So you're going from Virginia, now you're going to Texas. Like, what was that initial, feeling, that shock? Did you like whoa? Like, because I know Texas, that's a massive school. That's a big time program, everything, from football, and then the basketball team has had success. Kevin Durant's been there, played there. So what was that initial, feeling of like, when you first get on campus?
It was like a wow, like, starting like a new chapter of my life. Playing for a school, that's bigger than myself, playing, putting the same jersey on that, some, like, one of the greatest scores the NBA has put on. And just like the historic, factor of, just the University of Texas itself. It was just like a wow, it was appreciation, and it was like a gratification as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know someone who went to Texas and they said the same thing, and they didn't play athletics or anything, but they were like, it's it's huge, like it's different, from anything you've seen, and it's crazy. So, when was the, did you have that first, your freshman season you playing, when was that? When did you start getting comfortable, as a student, as a player? When did you start feeling that comfort?
Man. Probably it was like around, so I reported to campus like June of 2017, and it wasn't until like September where I started to feel like comfortable and, like, gain a little bit confidence in myself, because I went through some dog days in the summer. I was competing against, some veteran guards, Andrew Jones, a Kerwin Roach, a Jacob Young, who were, athletic, they were strong, and, they wanted to play. So they didn't let it happen for me. Like, they made it hard. And I remember some days, like, I would go to coach and I was like, man, like, what am I not doing? Like, is this for me?
Mm-hmm.
But like, one day it just clicked, after getting beat up. After a while, you get tired of it, and you find different ways to use your strengths and how to manipulate the game to make it better for yourself. So,
Yeah, because going to a big school as a freshman, you can get lost in that, and then if you're not playing and all that, you can get a little flustered and all that. But you seem like you worked your tail off, because you started every game you played, right?
every game.
And so, like, man, that's huge, right? Especially as a freshman to play every game. That, so you instill that confidence in Coach Smart that I could trust you, which is huge as a freshman, right? Because even we're talking about the top of the top guys, we could see them not play and then they lose their confidence, and you just kept grinding, which is pretty cool to see that. And when I was looking, saw some of your stat, that was the most telling thing, was that you started every game. And that's a huge accomplishment for you. 4 years at Texas, you started every game, so that's a pretty great accomplishment. I'm sure you're proud of that.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So 4 years at Texas, you get to the tournament this year, didn't go your way. Obviously, you have aspirations of being a pro. How quick was that turnaround from, oh man, we just lost, to now, all right, now I got to prep for the draft?
Man, it wasn't that quick. I gave my time to decompress, relax, let the feelings of, how I felt, I let them happen. Um, had some thoughts, if was I going to come back to school? Um, So I let time happen, and was able to, gather my thoughts and, you know, open to any, feelings that I felt. But then it was like land on this, and this is how I'm gonna move forward.
So how has everything gone as far as workouts, get prepping for the draft? Like how has that been? Like so you mentioned you were excited about the experience, but how has it been talking to teams and all that and experiencing all these new things for you?
It was good, man. I'm in Houston right now doing my pre-draft work, and just like being here working out, just working on my game, how much more detailed and meticulous, my trainer and I have been on my body and on my skill set, and just finding different variations to be just 1% better every day. And then just having the ability, like I said earlier, just to travel, just go from state to state. Like this past week, I was in Chicago, left Chicago, went to Indiana, and just been like in the facilities, meeting the coaches, meeting the GM. Um, just having a little taste of like, man, like this could be my next home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just taking advantage of any opportunity and every opportunity, and just making the most of it.
Have you been able to speak to a lot of teams?
I've met with what I've had with six workouts so far. Six
And
workouts.
and are they all different type of workouts or are they all kind of the same?
All of them they're kind of the same. It's groups of six guys, mostly four guards, two bigs. Um, and they all pretty the same. You just competing, you get shots up. Play some 1-on-1, play some 3-on-3, and compete.
So how do you tell yourself to not press? Because obviously you're trying to impress a team because you want to get drafted. So how do you make sure you don't press, you don't try to force things, but also try to play your game?
You just trust your work. And I go in every time. I meditate like the morning before, and I have fun. Like when I have this infectious personality about myself, where I'm just smiling, I'm talking,
Mm-hmm.
being vocal. Like the the that's like step one for me of being able to quote unquote impress the people in the front office, the coaches, or whoever it might be. But just trusting your work, just going out there and like I'm not gonna go out there and try to do something I know I can't do because it's just gonna make it look worse on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because just watching everything, it seems like there's certain guys it looks like they're pressing because they want to show out, and you get it right because like you said, everyone wants to get drafted and all that, but like you said, you have to figure a way to, you know, just stay within yourself, play your game, so you can show out and do your thing. So like that's definitely something I've seen a lot, with a lot of prospects is just forcing it
Yeah,
enforcing it, and it's just like just gotta play with. I know it's hard to play within yourself because this is such a big stage, and everybody, like I said, everyone can get drafted, but it's hard. I could imagine. I'm sure you've seen it where there's a lot of guys who are not playing their game, at all.
yeah.
So I mean, so have you thought about that day, draft day, and hearing your name being called?
Say it again. It was kind of
Have you
quick.
have you thought about it? Draft day. Like, do you have plans? Where you're gonna be. You're gonna be with the fam.
I haven't
You know.
I haven't really thought much about it, because just so I still have so many workouts coming up. Um, I mean, the thought of having a draft party when I in Virginia, with the fam and close friends.
Mhm.
But I haven't really thought, too much about it or spoke too much on it right now.
So what do you think are the biggest things that you think teams want you to improve on your game?
One is just my overall body, my frame. Becoming stronger. Um, just toning up, being able to, guard multiple positions, not multiple positions, but guarding out on the wing, perimeter, and guarding in the
Hmm.
post. Um, Shooting off the dribble, just making that, consistent. The game is so big on shooting. So you got to be able to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Um, and then third would just be my overall just playmaking ability. With both hands, my right and left.
And what do you think are your strengths? What's your biggest strengths?
One was just my overall leadership, demanding the floor. Another would be just my speed, my quickness. That's like a strength of mine, and me just catching and shooting. That's a big strength for me as well.
Yeah. I've seen, watching you this year, you definitely stood out in all those aspects, and definitely got some serious skill and all that. Have you talked to any of your Texas teammates? You talked to Kai or Jericho, anyone? While you're getting ready for the draft.
Yeah, I actually seen Greg and Jericho last week in Chicago, and I had talked to Kai. I talked to Kai probably the most out of the three. For no particular reason, it just happens to be like that. But I still communicate with the guys any chance I can get. Just keeping that close, tight relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had definitely. I picked you guys to win the national championship. I picked you guys to win it all.
We definitely had the team to do so. We just had to get past the first game.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think happened? Because you guys had all the talent. You guys had size. You guys had skill. What do you think was the determining factor why you guys felt like you didn't perform the way you guys? I'm sure you guys wish you did.
I had too many turnovers. I had like 7 turnovers, and you can't. It's hard to win a game when your star point guard has 7 turnovers and was in foul trouble. But it was a gritty game. It was. It was ugly, and it was just ugly.
I won't talk about it too much. I know you're probably going to think about that, for years to come, about that game. But you got a lot of other things, so I won't keep you too long. I appreciate even the time you give me. Just what is your overall outlook of everything? What are you proud of so far in your career so far in life? Period.
Man, I'm proud that I've been able to play at the highest level of college basketball. Play for the Power 5 team, University of Texas.
Yes.
I'm proud that I could leave Texas with Big 12 championship. I'm proud I was able to graduate. That's being young black in America. Just having the ability to graduate. With a degree is a lot. It goes a long way. And I'm happy to be in the position I am right now, and still being able to achieve my dreams and make myself and make my family happy.
Yes, that's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing, and you're doing great things. Like you said, you were able to graduate college. That's at the University of Texas. Able to have success, and hope to hear your name draft day, Matt.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the championship? Who's gonna win the finals? Suns and what? Suns and 4?
Nah, I got the Suns versus the Hawks. I got the Suns in 6.
Suns in 6. You think Atlanta has a chance to come back?
Yes.
Even without Trey. Let's say Trey's not there. You think
even without Trey?
Because there's no Giannis, so that's and their shot make they can hit some shots. So hopefully
they can shoot the ball. That's why.
Yeah, and that we'll see what happens. And because that's been a fun series. I mean, unfortunately, the theme of the playoffs has been injuries, unfortunately. Yeah. But hopefully we see those 2 guys back. But seeing the Suns, like you said, CP3 book, those are a bunch of dogs out there. But Matt, appreciate your time, man. This has been a pleasure. Like I said, I'm rooting for you. A lot of success. With everything coming up. Hope to hear your name draft day, man. And like I said, God bless, brother.
Appreciate you, my man.
All right, man. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening, and check you on the next show. Take care, guys.